All right, well, good morning, everybody. Obviously got Director Stallings, Georgia Emergency Management Agency, and his team here with us at the SOC this morning. Commissioner McMurray, Georgia DOT, Lieutenant Colonel Kendrick Lowe with the Georgia State Patrol, Colonel Hitchens, and the rest of the DPS crew are out and about, as you can imagine, all over the state, very busy this morning, as is Commissioner Walter Rabin and the DNR teams that we have out. And then we got Will Langston, our weather guru, with us that's going to have a lot for you here in just a few minutes. So we'll let all these guys give you an update. I just wanted to first talk about what we've been doing the last few days. Obviously, GEMA has been tracking the weather system all week and preparing for the storm. We've had heavy coordination, obviously, with our state and local partners. Issued a state of emergency yesterday to ensure we would be prepared to let us get ahead of the storm and be ready to go into action. And GEMA stood up the State Operations Center where we are now. Also been in direct communications with Mayor Dickens and the City of Atlanta, and a lot of our local elected officials, preparing and coordinating with them as well. DOT obviously has been out treating our roads leading up to the weather this morning. The Department of Natural Resources has 6 task force teams and 12 strike teams that are on standby ready to respond for any potential road debris clearing, public safety assistance, and other needs. DNR has also been preparing the state parks for those who need shelter or warming stations, especially our parks located in the North Georgia mountains are currently near capacity. So just bit of advice there. If you're looking for a place, you may want to go south versus north if you can. Local warming stations have been activated as well, and we'll certainly continue to monitor and respond as needed throughout this weather event. One note I wanted to have just on the state of emergency: we did not include the National Guard because they were already called up this week for training exercises, so they are in action doing training. So if we have the need to engage and deploy the National Guard, really it will just take a quick signature and we can get them moving if needed. With that, I'm going to let Director Stallings give you guys an update on the GEMA side of things, and we'll go to Commissioner Murray with DOT, Lieutenant Colonel Lowe with Public Safety, and we'll let Will wrap us up with a weather update, and then we'll take your questions. Director.
Yes, sir. Thank you. Well, good morning, and first of all, thank you, Governor Kemp, as always, your support. Signing the state of emergency early allows us to start those planning missions and things that we need. We're not shocked. Will has given us a great report. We work very closely with NWS, certainly Peachtree City, and we thank them for their partnership, allowing us to get together a plan. As mentioned, we started preparations early. The one thing that you can't do with snow and ice is get behind it. You have to constantly stay in front of it, and so we've worked very hard to ensure that was happening. Commissioner McMurray will talk more about their efforts here in just a few minutes, but I want to publicly say how much we appreciate their efforts. Their teams have been out there working extremely hard. If you've been out there at all this morning, or you've been watching any reports or seen any views of the interstate, you can tell a significant difference. I know one question you're probably going to ask in a few minutes is, how is this different? I think you've seen how it's different than what we experienced in 2014, and the biggest thing is that we have learned a lot of lessons, so we've stayed in front of it. We've not allowed the disabled vehicles to stay stranded on the roadway. We are getting reports of those, but we're being extremely proactive to ensure that we're getting those out of the way. Commissioner McMurray and his team have put down a lot of brine, and he'll go into those details, and they're working very diligently. And I think what you're seeing out there is a culmination of a lot of effort and teamwork. So we're very proud of the teamwork that the state has done, and we appreciate you listening to the warnings of staying off the roads. You'll see that the traffic is a lot less, which allows the teams to be able to do the job they're asked to do, which is clear the roads and get it free so that our emergency responders can do what they need to do. Throughout the rest of the day, what you're going to see from our team is we're constantly monitoring the changes that we anticipate. As the governor mentioned, Will talk about that in just a few minutes, but we do anticipate a transition. With that, there will be possibly the loss of power, trees down, things like that. So we're working very closely with the Forestry Commission, our DNR partners, to make sure we have cut teams ready so that we can get fire rescue in as we need, or any type of electrical responders in as well to ensure we get power. We also pre-positioned a lot of response items for GEMA. So we have generators, blankets, we have food, water, things of that nature, so that if we need to deploy those things to hurt areas, we can do that very quickly. We appreciate the partnership, and as always, Governor, we can't do it without your support, so thank you very much. And with that, I'll turn it over to Commissioner McMurray so he can give you an update on GDOT and all the hard work they're doing.
Thank you, Director Stallings. I do appreciate the governor issuing the state of emergency early and GEMA taking an early lead to coordinate all our work. We started on Wednesday applying brine, the pre-treatment necessary to keep this first bit of frozen precipitation from freezing to the roadway. In fact, we've brined over 20,000 miles of roadway from Macon on I-75 to Tennessee and I-20 from Alabama to South Carolina and everything above north of that line of where we're seeing this winter weather come in initially. In addition to that, we spot treated bridges and overpasses with over 770 tons of salt, again, trying to get this pre-treatment application so that what you're seeing now with the snow that's come down, that it doesn't bond and stick to the road, which puts us in the position of now where we are. Where we are now is to plow the roads. We're going to try to, again, get a couple of lanes passable, plowing the slush and the snow that's out there off to the side such that we can retreat with brine and salt and sand mixture later as this frozen precipitation is supposed to come in a little later now and a little later today, so that, again, we keep a barrier from the freezing precipitation of whatever form that is from sticking to the road. So that's where we are. We've got over 300 snow plows out actively working now with 600 people engaged, and we are 24/7 until this event subsides and everything's safe. I do want to again acknowledge Director Stallings' comments about stalled vehicles. Again, if you can stay off the roads, please stay off the roads. Our heroes and champs are working significant amount of spin outs and people just losing control. Again, where the roadway is sort of, the path is clear, it's good. Where it's slushy, remember to slow down, drive very conservatively, no hard braking, and no quick maneuvers of the steering wheel, because it is slick. Even though it's not bonded to the pavement, it's still slush and it's still slick. As always, if you have an incident that's a non-emergency, call 511 anywhere in the state for a hero assistance or champ assistance so somebody can come help you, because we want to get you safely off the roadway and safely on your way. As we do anticipate ice accumulation this afternoon, as Director Stallings talked about, this becomes even more treacherous. So that's, therefore, please again, stay off the roadways, because if this starts glazing up, it is very hard to treat. We're going to do our part to get ahead of it, but if it sits down, and especially overnight into tomorrow morning, it could be very dangerous. So please give our crews room to work, and we're going to do our best, and we'll continue to do our best to get the roads open safely as quick as possible. Now I'd like to turn it over to Lieutenant Colonel Lowe with Georgia State Patrol.
Thank you, Commissioner McMurray. We placed all of our personnel on Phase A since it started. We've been assisting GDOT with the brine truck escorts throughout the state, and we will continue to assist them until this is over. We placed personnel to work 24 hours to be out on the roadway checking for stranded motorists and working crashes as needed. And we're going to continue to do this throughout, assisting DOT with more trucks. If they put more trucks out, we're going to be out there to assist them with wherever they're needed during the storm.
All right, and then we'll close with letting Will give you a weather update, and we got the right map up there, Will. You work off that?
Yes,
All
sir. Thank you. Just want to start by thanking our partners at the National Weather Service and our local media outlets for communicating this forecast really well to the public. We have already seen at least a few inches of snow in a lot of parts of north and central Georgia. It's going to continue on and off through the rest of the morning and the afternoon. We do expect to see a transition to some freezing rain later this morning and the afternoon, and that could cause some ice accumulation to form on top of the snow that's already fallen, which will make it that much harder to melt when the rain moves in later. the temperatures are hovering right around the freezing mark, if not just below. And so, like the governor and Commissioner McMurray said, the roads could continue to be difficult and hazardous throughout the day. If we do see some of that ice accumulation occurring on the roads, or if we see some of the liquid that's falling freeze later because the temperatures aren't getting much above freezing, that would make the roads that much more difficult to drive on. The precipitation should continue through this evening, ending by about midnight, but will stay hovering around the freezing mark all the way through tomorrow afternoon, by which point the temperatures will fall after sunset tomorrow to below freezing, bottoming out in the upper teens to lower 20s by Sunday morning. So if anything is not melted and dried by the time the sun goes down tomorrow, there's a good likelihood that it's going to refreeze by Sunday morning. Finally, let me just mention the winds. We are expecting not significant winds, but it doesn't take much to bring trees and power lines down with this much snow and ice. We're expecting 10 to 15 mile per hour winds gusting to 20 or maybe a little bit more this afternoon and then again tomorrow, so we could continue to see some power outages as well.
And then just one couple other things before we go to questions. We have Director Stallings, GEMA, the opening of the State Operations Center. Obviously, we've been in touch with our power, power partners out there, Georgia Power, our EMCs and others. They have pre-positioned assets, so everybody's set up, ready to go if we do get into that icing, heavy winds, trees down, knocking power lines down. So just know they're on standby. We appreciate them. And then also, just again, to wrap up what Director Stallings and Commissioner and Will were talking about, this morning the snow was beautiful. If you were driving on it, it probably seemed pretty easy to do. That is changing as we speak with, freezing rain that may freeze, winds and other things coming in, and these temperatures sticking where they are versus creeping up to what we thought was going to happen, or what some models were saying would be up to 35 degrees today. We're not seeing that right now. I hope that happens, but if it does not, this rain that's on top of the snow, like Will was talking about, is going to freeze. It's going to make driving a lot worse this afternoon than it is even right now. And right now is worse than it was this morning, which again is why we're asking people, if you don't need to get on the roads, don't get on them. If you're on them, try to find those lanes that we've been able to plow and potentially retreat later in the day, and just slow down and be very careful out there. And with that, we'll open it up for questions for any of us up here.
Commissioner McMurray, the downtown connector, as we view it on one of your cameras over your shoulder there, looks remarkable compared to what it was right about an hour ago. How often do you anticipate you're going to have to scrape down, plow the major thoroughfares?
So thank you for that question. We were first, and I should have said this earlier, we first start with our interstates. So we're going to plow the interstates. As you've seen, we've made the pass through the downtown connector initially with 2 lanes. We'll come back. If they get recovered due to continued precipitation, we're going to try to stay with at least 2 lanes as a pass, and then we'll try to catch additional lanes as we make loops. So we have the state broke into segments, so we have crews that just continue to work certain loops, the downtown connector being one of those. So we'll continue to be responsive as the accumulation continues to occur, but our main goal, again, is just trying to keep 2 lanes passable of the interstate first. Then we try to catch the ramps, and after we do that, we sort of get off onto the secondary state route highways, the ones that connect to the interstate. So our first goal is, again, keeping the interstates operational, moving, interstates, ramps, and then state routes. So as I said, we pre-treated 20,000 miles of roadway initially. That means we have 20,000 miles of roads that have to be plowed. So it does take some time, and I hope everybody understands the expectation is we can't clear the roads immediately. We're going to make them passable, and then we'll keep coming back and continue this process until we do have everything clear.
Governor, the weather so far has borne out almost like it were scripted to what GEMA Director Stallings prognosticated with us earlier this week. Talk about, if you would, how important it is to be prepared well in advance, and whether you've gone over and above, whether you've got extra stuff in reserve.
Yeah, well, normally it never happens like you predict it to. So we're, you know, at least thankful that, we were prepared for what we thought the forecast was. And I think you can see we got ahead of the storm. It's hard to keep up with Mother Nature, but we're doing our best, and we got a lot of hard-working DOT, public safety, DNR, and other crews that are out there right now, and we'll continue to do that, like Commissioner McMurray said, 24/7. I want to thank the media and our citizens for just listening to the advice that we've been given over the last 24 to 48 hours about being prepared, being winter weather ready. Thank, our partners at our local governments, our schools, our corporate and business partners for heeding the advice that we were given. A lot of people are, not in the office today. Our schools are closed. When I got up this morning and it was snowing, I was like, I'm so glad we did what we did yesterday. If it hadn't have been snowing, or if this weather had missed us, people may have been criticizing us. But look, from what we've seen in the past, it is better to be over-prepared than not in these situations. And I think the team's done a great job, and we've learned a lot of lessons over the years. And I again, just want to thank our citizens for heeding the advice that we've been giving them, ask them to continue to do that throughout the day. And also just thankful to all our media partners out there and people on social media that have been really spreading this message. I've heard a very consistent message all across all media outlets, and I think that's good for our citizens.
Director Stallings, since this is kind of going as you predicted, almost the worst case scenario, right? What are you expecting in terms of the severity of the ice, and how soon?
I think, as Will mentioned earlier, we'll see a transition sometime this afternoon, but because of the efforts of Commissioner McMurray and his team, and that goes back to lessons learned. I think any good plan comes from some losses. We had some losses back in 2014. We recognize those, and we've moved from that. The biggest reason we're successful, though, is because you, as the governor mentioned, have shared our message, and our citizens have listened. Give us a chance to clear the roads. If you give us a chance to clear the roads, it's much easier without the broken down vehicles, the disabled vehicles, or the vehicles that were just left sitting without anyone in them. So I think for us, what we'll see this afternoon is, yes, there will be a transition, but I think with the continued efforts from Commissioner McMurray's team, we'll be in a lot better place than we thought we could possibly have been. It's always good, unfortunately, having these going into the weekend, that there's less travel. Folks love a 3-day weekend, so I appreciate businesses giving those 3-day weekends. We appreciate that. And for even the state offices being closed, it's just kept the extra traffic off the road, which is allowing us to do what we need to do.
And I think one thing too that's just for this afternoon, it's such a fine line with what we're dealing with, as Will was talking about. I mean, if it ends up being 34 degrees and it's raining, that'll help us this afternoon. If it ends up being 31 degrees and it's freezing rain or sleeting, it could cause huge problems on our roadways, but also with power outages. So that's why we're telling people just to, hang with us the rest of the day. Be very cautious. Stay off the roads if you don't absolutely have to until we can get this thing completely moved out of the state.
Colonel, you have any sense at this point of how many wrecks your folks are working?
When I looked at the CAT earlier today, the crash was down, but we've had a lot of one-car spin out where people are lost control over the bridges, striking the guardrail, and tractor trailers not able to get up over certain overpasses and certain bridges. But our crash number, because of everyone being off work today, is less traffic, and that has caused us to, see a decrease in some crashes. But we do have the one-car spin out, no damage, and we get them going and they keep them moving.
And I think it was Commissioner McMurray who gave some driving advice, Colonel, but you find that a lot of people who have maybe all-wheel drive or four-wheel drive mistakenly think that's going to help them brake. It does not, does it?
It does not. Again, we try to encourage people to stay off the road as much as possible during this time. Slow down, leave room in between them and the car in front of them. That's what we would encourage them to do, is slow down. Because of the all-wheel drive, four-wheel drive, doesn't mean that you can just speed up and go around, other vehicles at a speed that's not safe.
Thank you very much. Will,
Russell.
can you, the
Well,
governor
you
spoke
wanna give
about
it-
that fine line. What's your sense of which side of that fine line we're coming down on?
Well, the temperatures, like I mentioned, are hovering at or below freezing. The models have been showing us getting a little bit above that this afternoon. It really remains to be seen because the more snow that's fallen, it actually acts to bring down the cold air from the upper atmosphere, so I think that's why we're seeing cooler temperatures than we thought we would. The hope is that as the rain moves from south to north throughout the day, that it'll bring a few degrees warmer weather. Where that line is, it's tough to say. It's gonna move from south to north throughout the day. So hopefully we can get temperatures in the mid-30s with a good rainfall this afternoon and melt some things out there.
Russell, you want to update the 285 tractor trailer?
Sure, yeah. Yeah, thank you, Governor. Yes, our biggest traffic incident we have now, and again with GSP and tow on the scene, is on I-75 South in Cobb County at the exit to 285. That's right at the Truist Park, Cumberland area. That ramp is closed, so we're messaging to people to go down to the next exit. You can still access 285 from the next exit down, but that is a big event. Again, 8 tractor trailers involved, 1 jackknife. Again, to the Lieutenant Colonel's point is we've got to leave space. People need to slow down, especially in and around tractor trailers. Our hero units have worked 220 incidents this morning where there again, somebody spun out, somebody's on the side of the road that needs help. So that is numbers may be down, but that's still a significant event. We really want to make sure that we don't have to work those events, as the governor said, just stay off the roadways, especially this afternoon, evening, until we know what happens tomorrow.
Yes.
One thing it was impossible not to notice on the way over here is some people not obeying traffic signals, stop signs, stuff like that. Could either GDOT or GSP talk about the importance of continuing to obey stop signs, stop lights, and follow traffic rules? And can you still get the ticket?
Yes.
We encourage motorists to obey all the traffic laws still. Unless the light is out and you treat it as a four-way, but a stop sign is a stop sign. And yes, you can be cited and will be if you're breaking the law in a reckless manner during this time.
Will we expect other updates throughout the day, Governor?
Yeah, look, we'll just see what this weather's doing. We'll certainly keep you updated. We'll be messaging on our social media. We'll be, obviously talking to you all individually too with updates. And if we have a need to do something else later on, we will. We're just going to watch this weather and we'll keep you guys updated. Thanks for being with us.
Thank you very much, Governor.